author of A Dangerous Obsession, and the book soon to be out, and it's A Bowdon Romance, and it's based in 1850 by Memoirs publishers, and I'll let you know when it's out, but it's out soon. So now we've heard a lot about Charlotte, Alice, but it's also based on a true character. Is it William, did you say?
Well, in Bowdon, William Wood lived there in Stamford Road.
So was he a special person? Was he like a high...
He was known as the chimney boy's friend. He did a lot to stop these boys having to go up chimneys. It seems unbelievable they had that problem in Bowdon, but they did. Laws weren't kept. One excuse being it's difficult telling on a neighbour, and it was like these days people got civil law mixed up with criminal law, and they couldn't bring the police in sometimes. So William Wood would bring in a private prosecution against them. And he would get on at anyone, a magistrate, or he didn't care who they were. He'd put a stop to it.
Gosh, so they had all that going on at that time as well. So he was a solicitor who fought people's rights.
No, he wasn't a solicitor at all, William Wood. He was a wool merchant.
Oh, so this is a real aspect of him. Okay,
yeah, so no, I've put this at the end of a book.
Yeah, about the true
William Wood.
Because it's a fictional book based on a real person.
Yes, well, there is a man who's objecting to chimney sweeps in the story of Bowdon. But right at the very end, I've added about William Wood, but it's not a part of the story. That is true. There was such a man who lived in Sandy Lane, which is now called Stamford Road. But he not only did things locally, he had large placards stating the law about boys and chimneys and put them up in railway stations all over the country. He wrote to Queen Victoria about a chimney being swept by a boy at Windsor Castle. He was a great supporter of Lord Shaftesbury, who also campaigned about it, and he got very involved when the matter was discussed in the House of Lords.
Okay, so they did like there was child labour, wasn't there? Very young children used to go and do chimney sweeping.
Yes,
I remember that.
Yes,
well, I weren't there, but I've done a lot about it at school.
Well, when they started passing laws about it, it was largely how old the boy was who was allowed to go up a chimney. But if somebody wanted their chimney swept, they just asked a master sweep to send someone, and they didn't know how old the person was, and really it was the master sweep who was to blame for him. But William Wood witnessed a horrific accident when he was a young man. Consequently, when he retired, he decided to devote his time into this.
Okay.
He lived with his family. He's now buried in Bowdon Church, and the master sweeps...
Oh, so have you seen that?
Led him on. I've read about it, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so they can read more about William in the book at the end.
Yes.
And so is there anything in this book, what I've got now, the copy, the original, guys, is there any paragraphs in here what to do with William, what I could read out? Because it's quite...
No, because you've only got a draft copy of it.
Okay.
So it isn't in that book.
So I'm going to read a little bit about this book anyway. I'm just going to read a little conversation between a couple of people. I'll just read this bit. I don't know what this is, but she knew all right. She wanted to go to Salford. Oh, it's funny, I opened up here. She wanted to go to the Bible Christian Church. She had heard so much about it. It was vegetarian. Next Sunday, they went to Bowdon Vale, hired a horse each, and off they went. So does it say a lot about Salford in your book? Is there a lot of history on Salford as well?
Not really, no. It's just that the Bible Christian Church, which was, I think it was founded in 1809 by the man who founded the Vegetarian Society.
Yeah.
And they did have a chapel there. And she would have been able to go on the Manchester Ship Canal. There was a passenger ship there. Also, in the Polygon, that's outside Bowdon Church, there was a horse-drawn bus service, although I don't know whether or not it was still there in 1850. And going back to talking about what was going on in those days, in Bowdon Church, they had trouble with bodies being snatched out of it, and people in those days, it worried them because they thought that meant their souls were no longer in heaven. Some people still believe that. But
so this happened at that time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So did you take a lot of real...
There wasn't a lot of it going on in Bowdon Church, but there was a bit of it, and they had to have a hut, a watchman's hut there, to see to it.
So, did you take a lot of research into old newspaper articles to find all this information?
I found bits and pieces, and people would phone me up and tell me, oh, by the way, I've looked up such and such a thing. I found out such and such a thing.
How did you do that? Did you advertise in a newspaper or something?
No, I just asked. I did it by hearsay. Yeah. It also was very good practice for computers, because I've been computer illiterate. I've got to know how to use Google and that sort of thing.
You're doing well. And how long did it take you to get all this information together?
Years.
Years, really? How many years? 5 years? 10 years?
Yes.
Really? Gosh.
I've had bits of paper, bits and pieces lying about the house.
Yeah.
Like I say, it was more getting it together than...
So how far into the book are you now? How far have you got with completing it?
Oh, I've finished it. It's just a question of getting it. It'll very soon be out.
Yeah, wow.
And we're trying to get the cover together. How are we going to get the cover on?
So do you choose a picture on the book as well and everything like that?
I'm not quite sure. We haven't decided yet.
Yeah. Because the book... it looks like you when you was a young girl on A Dangerous Obsession. The girl does look like you. What you could have looked like when you was younger.
Yes, I was going to say it's taken a few years off me, that has.
Yeah, I look forward to reading that. So, why should people read your next book? Give us a list of things why you think they might find it interesting to read it.
Well, just simply that it's history, and it's hopefully it's jovial. In places. Charlotte can't bear drink either, which makes her sound like a killjoy, but she wasn't. She meets Catherine Munford in it. Was the founder of Salvation Army, who met William Booth. She did a lot to help alcoholics, she did, but Charlotte hadn't got the patience at all.
Yeah.
She used to say, kick him out, boot him out, and this sort of thing. Charlotte did, but Catherine Munford didn't agree with her at all.
So, this book is quite interesting. Have you got any other books in the pipeline after you've written this one? Have you started writing another one?
Yes, I have, about someone in the country. Yeah. I won't go into too much about that.
Yeah, you can always come back and talk about that. Yeah.
Yes, that's one of them.
So you want to continue to write now?
Yes, well, I've got it written. It's putting it together, really, because I've also got more about the mental health act being open to abuse.
Right.
And about how they won't look into things. They're very reluctant to investigate anything, complaints and that sort of thing.
So have you been able to talk to people in the Ministry of Health?
The Ministry of Health seem to think everything's ideal. It's that they appear to be in denial, to refuse it, that such a thing is going on. And yet there's so much on the television about old people being ill-treated and everything.
But it is something they're looking into as well, isn't it? They wouldn't let it happen once they know something has been doing wrong. They would have to look into it, because that is what they do. But it's just a matter of...
It's terribly difficult to get them to investigate anything. And they will say that their interest is to help you. Once they start saying that, they've got a lot of power. So I'm certain of it. People are frightened of them.
So these are your opinions in your book as well. Okay.
Well, that's not in this book here. That's something I'm writing.
Yeah, and another one in the future.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll let you know when Alice Frank's book is out. It's out very soon.
It's a romance in Bowdon, yeah.
Yeah, and it's by Memoirs Publishers, and A Dangerous Obsession is already out.